I'm delighted to have joining me today Aishwarya Puttur. I met her at the last Student Roundtable meeting, and she mentioned an amazing equity and inclusion initiative. So for those like me who don't know much about Aishwarya's work, here she is. Hey, Aishwarya.
Hi. So, as Kenzie introduced, I'm Aishwarya. I'm a grade 11 student at Bluegill Collegiate Institute, and I go by she, they pronouns. Just a little bit about me. I am new to the school board, so super excited to be here. I'm a climate justice organizer, meaning I do a lot of climate action work. And yeah, today I'd just like to bring a reflection of mine to the table.
Super excited to have you. So, what are you thinking? What is your reflection?
So, when we talk about discriminatory experiences students of color face, we often urge them to complain to their school administration to sort out the problem. But my reflection is that when that discrimination is coming from a teacher or a staff member themselves, it's actually extremely difficult to confront that discrimination. There's a fear that if we do confront them or complain, that our grades, the way we're treated, and even the response to our complaint will negatively affect us. And this worry exists because of this unspoken power imbalance between students of color and white teachers, especially in predominantly white schools. I've spoken to a lot of racialized students just like me, and they've experienced these same experiences. Now, not only do you not have the staff or administrators who understand your struggles, but you also don't have as many peers around you who will support you if you do take up that initiative to raise up those concerns. And so my reflection is just upon this unspoken power imbalance and how we need to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a powerful reflection for you to make, and I'm really glad to see you looking into something like this. What motivated this reflection?
My motivation definitely comes from experiences I've faced. I've definitely had teachers and educators who have said certain things that I was not comfortable with, and that made me really reflect because it was hard for me to raise up those concerns. Normally, I'm very vocal, and hence why I'm here today. And normally, if anything happens, I'm usually really vocal about it. I confront people. I'm like, hey, that's not okay, so and so. But I found myself in those situations tying up my tongue. I was just like, I would close my mouth, not say a word, and just go on with it. And I remember after that school day, or after those several school days, on those days that those experiences happened, I'd come home and I'd think, why didn't I raise my voice? Why didn't I say a word? And I realized I didn't say a word because I was genuinely scared of what would happen if I did. And it wasn't that these teachers were necessarily strict or anything. It was more of a fear that what would happen to my grades, what would happen to, especially because I'm also new, but what would happen to, I guess, quote unquote reputation or quote unquote the relationship between that teacher and me. And I've actually talked to a bunch of other students, as I mentioned before, and surprisingly, I don't know why it's surprising. I guess it's just because I've never experienced that before, but surprisingly, so many of them related to that. They were like, yes, those are my experiences too. And it's just so hard to bring them up. And the only way you can bring them up is by talking to each other. By talking to each other, we're not really, of course, we're allowing ourselves to have somewhere where we can express our concerns and somewhere where we can just kind of relax and let go of that tension and stress. But we don't get to solve the root cause of that problem.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely understand. And yes, there's so many students that go through the exact same thing. So speaking up about it is super impactful. What do you see as the next steps and what can be done to address this?
Well, for me, something that I think is really important is anti-oppression trainings for teachers, administration, and educators. Personally, in my work as a climate justice organizer, anti-oppression trainings are a big part of the organizations that I'm a part of because even when it comes to climate change, it's really important to look at those intersectionalities of racial justice and social justice. And I feel like if teachers within our school board were actually trained on anti-oppression, how to implement it within their classrooms and how they can be more aware, I do feel like at least some part of this problem could be solved. At least they would be aware of what they were saying and what their actions have on racialized students. Another thing that I would suggest would be to create norms for the classroom with the students in the classroom to make a safe space. So normally when we go into a classroom, and normally when we're starting a new semester or a new class, teachers usually lay out the fundamental rules, how students should behave in the classroom. That's the normal, right? But I think it should be taken a step further. Instead of teachers laying them out for you, those rules, those regulations, or those norms should be set with the students. And they should be set in a way that we're not just talking about student behavior, but we're talking about teacher behavior as well. And we're also making sure that students know that this is a safe space and that they are completely allowed to voice their opinions. They're allowed to voice any concerns they have without being judged for and without being impacted in terms of academics or any other way. This is something that actually I had a teacher who, it was so relieving to me, because in that same semester I had a teacher who made so and so remarks, but then I had another teacher who straight up told us on the first day that, hey, I already know that I might make mistakes, and I'm not perfect just like you guys are. So if I'm able to call you out on certain things, you're allowed to call me out.
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, it was just so powerful to me. To me, that felt like an open statement of, hey, this is a safe space. Without saying it's a safe space, he already made it a safe space, right? And I think those type of spaces need to be made in every single classrooms. And when teachers do that, it's giving students that power to know that, hey, even though you're a student, even though you're younger, you have the power to raise your voice, and you have the power to call out when something is wrong, and you have the power to call out when something is uncomfortable, right? We're so, especially in like a teacher student setting, we constantly blindside uncomfortability, right? We're like, hey, we don't want to talk about that because it is uncomfortable to talk about uncomfortable situations. But by doing so, we're completely taking out the experiences of so many students out of the equation, right? We're just painting it all with a smiley face, like everything's all right, everything's all good, right? And even when we talk about like inclusivity or diversity initiatives, not every initiative is going to suit every student, and we need to understand that, because every student is different. And that means that every initiative that we put out, we need to consult students, ask them how they feel about it, because some students are not going to be okay with those initiatives. And honestly, that's okay. Even if you were trying to do something good and a student is not okay with it, that's okay. It's about how do we improve it? Where do we go from here? So just creating those spaces in a way that allows students to voice their opinions and voice their concerns. And finally, just one more thing. I wish that there was a support system for racialized students within WRDSB and even LGBTQ plus students. Just some type of support system in a way that they can come together, maybe even through like Google Meet, right? Like once every month, and just talk about their experiences, maybe create like a community, create a sort of solidarity among those students, because I'm aware that not every school has those communities. A lot of schools have incredibly diverse populations, and so a lot of the time those schools have tight-knit communities, and where people like racialized students and LGBTQ plus students are able to go to, but a lot of other schools don't, and those students often feel isolated in those situations. So creating that support system allows people from different schools to interact and actually create a sense of solidarity. For all of the students watching out there, if you ever want to connect and you want to create these platforms, you want to create these communities of support and solidarity, please reach out to me. Kenzie, you can put my Instagram handle somewhere here. 100%. And my email. And I think it would just be amazing to create those communities, because we really, truly do need them in WRDSB.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for taking this time to share your initiatives and just all your thoughts. They're all so insightful, and I really, really appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you so much.
And for everyone watching, now you know.